Yo, what's going on YouTube? This is Broman Clash right here, and today you notice that I'm putting on like a cool new hat, but at the same time, if y'all like it, it's cool. But aside from that brief intermission about like my little bit of fashion sense, but I want to talk about something. Everybody wants to talk about, what is equality? What is, superiority? What is inferiority? You know, what is all that? See, look, superiority, inferiority, and equality, they're all human concepts. But when it comes right down to looking at who can do what and what can do what, you have to remember everybody has their place. And some people do it better than others, and some people cover their bases when it's necessary. And that's the cool thing. But, you know, when it comes to inferiority and superiority, equality, it does not have this. You know what it doesn't have? Ego. And right now, I'm going to talk about what's the difference between, you know, when somebody has like an inferiority complex and a superiority complex to somebody who's actually in an equalist state of mind, or like a state of mind where people are just like, okay, I can see where you're coming from. See, look, when you look at things from an equal perspective, you don't try to seek an argument just to win it. When when it's an argument, but yet you're both on a calm standpoint because you're having a conversation, then you realize it's neither an argument or a debate because it's not trying to seek who's right or wrong. It's about seeking understanding. And when you look at equality as that sort of standpoint, you realize that hey, this is what it's all about. It's not about who's right or who's wrong. It's about understanding perspectives. Well, when it comes like to rape and all that stuff, man, no, I condemn that. Killing children, I condemn that. Manipulating people, I condemn that. Like that's a universal thing. Like innocent lives should not be harmed. And I understand that when it comes to war, you're trying to hit the enemy. You don't know who's the enemy and who's on neutral grounds. It's sad, but you know that's beside the point. But what I'm talking about is this. When it comes right down to superiority complex, inferiority complex, and equality, see, like I said before, equality comes from understanding. It comes from actually saying, like, I can see where you're coming from because I can see where it could have led and I can see how things are. But nowadays, when you look at things, people don't look at, you know, superior, don't look at equality. They claim they want to understand equality, but the truth of the fact of the matter is they want to feel superior instead of just being like, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Because they want to have like the upper hand, the so-called upper hand. But what's the point? Just because we have a few privileged assholes around here acting as if, oh yeah, I live the life of luxury. I have money, especially when that money's been painted in blood. Especially when living on the backs of those who actually built your economy and all that stuff. You you catch my drift. You have to remember, everybody started out weak. I don't care what you say. Everybody started out weak, but yet we eventually build up and make ourselves stronger through the process. Sure, we may have our moments where we're just like, what's the point? What's the point of keep on going on? What's the point of talking? What's the point of even like uttering the thought of hope? Especially when everything is just going down on you. I've been through that, and I understand. Like, if you're going through that now, don't worry. See, look, superiority and inferiority, that deals with ego. Let go of ego when that time comes. And just say, I want to be understood. But then, I remember I saw this, and I'm on Facebook a lot, and I understand, how can Facebook be a source of wisdom, especially when you see nothing but egotism and all that other crap that you see on there. But I saw this, and it was a question that was posed, but it was a demand that a man said to Buddha. Buddha, he asked Buddha, I want happiness. And he said, take out, Buddha said onto the man, take out I, because that represents ego. Take out want, that represents desire. All you left is happiness. And if you But take that with a grain of salt. Make sure you remember that. Because when it comes right down to superiority and inferiority, remember that deals with ego and desire. You want to feel powerful, and you try to establish yourself as the dominant one. You try to make all others feel inferior. But the real sad part is the fact that the real inferior ones are the ones that try to portray themselves as strong when they know they are truly weak and have glaring weaknesses. But where does equality stand in this? Especially when it comes right down to the equality of gender, race, all that crap. The reason why I say all that crap, see, look, the reality of it is, gender is a social gender, race, like gender roles and all that crap. They are just, social constructs and a society where people need to survive. But where does social construct come from? The mind. That's right. If you think about it, it's gonna happen. And if you put it into motion, it will happen. But then the real sad part is the fact that why are people so afraid of saying, hey, look, maybe I need a feminine perspective on things, or I need a masculine perspective on things. There's nothing wrong with asking the opposite gender for help, as long as there is no ulterior motive, such as sex, money. Take all that bullshit out. Seriously. And also, today, I think I saw somewhere that today marks Women's Day. Women's Day, where you respect the feminine principle. So it ties in with that. See, look, now, women, and I remember this quote, women, no, instead of talking about women as like, as like sex objects and all that crap, that's not even the case. That's not it. The real quote I've heard before is this: if you teach a man, you teach an individual. But if you teach a woman, you teach a nation. That shows that, hey, women are much more valuable than men. And when you take out ego and you realize, like, hey, she's the mother of all civilization, pay respects to her. You realize that, hey, and the old religious saying, Eve came from Adam's rib, but the man came out of the woman's womb. And remember that. No matter which way you look at it, we are all connected. But then, where does ego, superiority, inferiority come from? It comes from a misconception. Especially when it came right down to, oh, who should be much stronger? Who's the one that should have the more power? Who's the one that should be, up there? Who's the one that should have the charisma? Like, take all of that out. Take all of that out. If you're a man, it's okay to embrace the feminine side of you, such as creativity, nurturing, caring, being, overall pleasant because you embrace the feminine side of you. And women, same thing. It's okay to embrace the masculine side of you, being tough, being assertive, standing your ground, defending your family. There's nothing wrong with that because you're doing what is necessary to produce survival and to make sure that everyone stays happy. That's getting rid of the ego and embracing who you are. And that's cool. But when it comes right down to superiority and coming right down to looking at, oh yeah, I'm superior to most because of one particular skill. Look, remember, everybody excels at one skill or many skills, but they also have many weaknesses, many glaring weaknesses that can actually overtake their own life. And it's really funny, but at the same time, it shows off something. You want to know what shows off? How human we are. And everybody wants to talk about, well, there's only one race, the human race, but yet they're trying to ignore the fact that there's racism going on, and racism is a social construct that deals with a superiority complex. And in order to deal with the superiority complex, we can't bury it underground. We can't hide it. We can't put it under a sheet. Hence why we have the KKK, all that crap. Man, but you catch my drift. You gotta face the social constructs head on. You can't allow it and just say, like, hey, maybe this is how the way things should be. If you want me to be honest, man, if I look at a strong woman, I'll say, hey, I respect you. But nobody, I repeat, nobody likes an arrogant person. Hey, I was arrogant at one point, and I ain't gonna lie to you. And then I began to realize, like, hey, you know what, man, this isn't me. So I decided to change it all up real quick. Not for other people, but for myself. And I realized, like, hey, what the hell was wrong with me? What the fuck was I thinking? Like, man, what the hell was I really on? Was I really on the pipe or something? And don't worry, I don't do drugs. I don't do drugs. That's not me. But you catch my drift because, when your arrogance along with your ego, because, I'm a bit of a scholar, I'll admit that myself, and other people could vouch for me, but at the same time, I let that cloud my head, and it wasn't even good for me. And the more I thought about it, the more I felt like, damn, I really did screw up. And, after I reevaluated myself, looked at my own ego, looked at my own mind to see, like, what wiring goes where and how the way things go, I realized, like, hey, I had a superiority complex, but I had an inferiority set of emotions. My mind was right there, well, a bit too high, but my emotions were at all-time low. So I put them in balance. See, the masculine principle of being assertive, being aggressive, being more dominant, and the feminine aspect of being, I know some of you may say, like, it's a bit of a stereotype, but you catch my drift. But having a bit of creativity, nurturing, and understanding individuals. And there's nothing wrong with the feminine aspect, but yet some people don't respect that, and that's the real sad part, because when you don't respect the feminine principle, you're gonna end up disrespecting the female. And if you don't respect the masculine principle, you're gonna disrespect the male. And everybody says that, hey, look, women are better than men, or men are better than women. Then if that's the case, then why don't you set a better example for your damn selves? Because it makes no sense for black men. Okay, I'm gonna bring out, like, a bit of an example, and if y'all wanna attack me, go ahead and attack me. But I don't give a shit. I'm gonna just say it outright. Black men should not be out there looking like dogs. Should not be out there looking like, hey, bitch, come over here. I want to show you a good time. That's not cool, man. And you're talking to the mother of civilization right there, the black woman. And black woman, don't look at it. Don't look at the black man who's actually working hard as a bum. Don't be too judgmental, all right? It's okay to have a standard, but if you have that much of an ego to look at like a hardworking black man who's down on his luck and saying, like, oh, look at that bum ass nigga. I understand, the N-word and all that crap. You shouldn't really say that, but you catch my drift, because that's what they say. And that's really sad, that when both the masculine and the feminine principles don't respect each other, all because of an inferiority complex and a superiority complex, you realize that inequality just exists right then and there. But then if you look at the fact that, hey, look, he's down on his luck, and she, just because she dresses that way doesn't necessarily mean she is that way. If her attitude, along with, like, a bit of her way of life, seems to stick out more, and she's just like, yeah, I'm all that, that's how I am, you got a problem with that? And it's just like, yo, man, you better just slow your roll, because don't let your ego get the best of you. And let me go back on to, my my brothers, fellow black men. Not every single one of us is this way, but remember, check yourself, check your ego. Make sure you don't go off. Make sure you don't go off the wrong path, because there are too many of us dying out here, all because of what? Because of petty reasons. And all because we're fighting over, for what? The affections of a trophy. And when I mean trophy, I'm not talking about the woman, even though the woman is just the physical appearance, but the trophy I'm talking about is the ego. We're trying to calm our ego. Like, fuck the ego. That's just something that we should just say, look, that's not us. And then, black women, it's the same thing. Check that ego as well. Because there are too many of y'all, getting hurt out here over what? Over bullshit. And I know some of y'all saying, like, what does black men and black women have to do with this? Because, like, I understand there are a few of us that don't do that kind of shit. And, that's cool. But at the same time, I'm just pleading, like, seriously. Like, if you follow the stereotypes, remember back then, when they had, posters and all that crap. Now we have the TV, all that other crap, radios, Amos and Andy, how the way they try to portray black people less than human, subhuman, even to the point of calling us animals, calling us, monkeys, feeding us to alligators, all that crap, feeding our babies to alligators and all that crap. And then all of a sudden now, as they push the stereotype outward, we forgot the reason why we were here. We were not here to kill each other. We were here to survive. And the real sad part is the fact that I remember something I read somewhere before, and they say in the age of information, ignorance is a choice. And they always say ignorance is bliss. And you want to know what the sad part is? We'd rather choose happiness over the truth. And now some of you may say, how does this tie in with, superiority, inferiority, equality? How do those three things connect to, like, happiness? Because happiness sometimes requires the truth. And the truth will set you free. Not escape, but free. Freedom. True freedom to be yourself. And, when you start following the escapist way, you try to do many things, such as boozing, drinking, smoking, try to escape life instead of facing it head on. And some of you may say, like, why are you trying to portray black people like this? Why are you trying to say, like, what? I see you have the red, black, and green. What's that supposed to mean? See, look, the reason why I mention this is because, I'm worried. I'm scared, man, because, we are a beautiful people. And if we constantly follow stereotypes on TV, then it's going to justify why we look like this, why we are like this. Not look, but are. Because, if we're going to let people call us niggas, and then we call each other niggas, remember, just like Rich Pride once said in Live at the Sunset Strip, I remember he said this. He said, that word was used to describe our own wretchedness. And we put our own ego instead of our own beliefs and truths. We put our morals aside so we can live happily. That's stupid. And then how does all of this tie right down to ego, superiority, inferiority, equality? Simple. Because inferiority and equality, inferiority, superiority all require ego, while equality requires understanding. If we understand each other more than enough, we realize that, hey, what we are doing, we're killing each other. We don't need this shit. And if we truly want to be human, we have to look at each other and say, we're brothers in this. Don't bother stealing from me, and I won't steal from you. But everybody, everybody's got their own demons. Everybody's got to face their demons, face the music one way or another. And I have no ill will towards people, but if you want me to be honest, we have to look at the music and just say, instead of nodding our heads to the beat, we have to listen to the lyrics and be held accountable for it. Especially towards big music artists, yeah, who get paid by being too egotistical, which is actually fucking sad. But then I have no ill will towards my people. But you catch my drift. Feminism, chauvinistic way of looking at things. If you look at their extreme forms, they're just forms of ego. But if you do it because you feel as if like, hey, this is just me expressing myself, then express yourself. But do it because you choose to, not because you have a title. That's the worst thing you could do. And with that, YouTube, I say this is Broman Clash signing out one at one. Hope you have a great evening or a great morning, depending on which part of the world you're in. And I hope you have a great time. Love y'all all. And hey, it's your choice and it's your world. Later.